Welcome to our channel, where every coin has a story and some are worth far more than you'd expect. In this video, we're exploring some of the rarest Lincoln Memorial pennies, coins that look ordinary but have sold for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. The 1970 D Lincoln penny is a coin that many of us might recognize from old change, but it holds more interest than most people realize. Produced at the Denver Mint, this penny features the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that has been in use since 1909. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used on pennies from 1959 through 2008. Although the vast majority of 1970 D pennies are common and worth only their face value, there are some rare varieties and errors that make certain examples much more valuable and intriguing for collectors. Let's begin by looking at the coin itself. The 1970 D penny was primarily made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which was the standard composition before 1982 when the mint switched to mostly zinc pennies with a thin copper coating. The D mint mark on the coin tells us that it was struck at the Denver Mint. In 1970, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these pennies, making them very common. For everyday use, these coins were simply 1 cent, but among coin collectors, certain 1970 D pennies can be quite special. One interesting aspect collectors watch for is the possibility of minting errors or varieties. These occur when something goes wrong during the coin production process, leading to unusual or unique characteristics on a coin. For the 1970 D penny, some of the known varieties include double dies and weak strike errors. Double die coins are created when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions. This causes parts of the coin's design, like the date, lettering, or other features, to appear doubled. Although true double die pennies from 1970 D are very rare and hard to find, coins with subtle doubling may sometimes be noticed by collectors and can increase the coin's value significantly. Another type of error found in 1970 D pennies is the weak strike error. This happens when the coin blank, known as a planchet, is struck with less pressure than usual or when the planchet itself is not perfectly formed. The result is a coin where the design details are faint, incomplete, or sometimes barely visible, but the mint mark often remains clear. These weak strike pennies have a ghost-like appearance, making them unique and interesting to collectors. In fact, one of the most remarkable versions of the 1970 D penny is exactly this weak strike error coin. On this penny, Lincoln's portrait on the front is almost invisible, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back is barely there, yet the Denver D mint mark remains sharp and easy to see. This contrast is what makes this error so striking and collectible. Such weak strike errors are very rare. Experts believe fewer than 50 of these coins exist in collections around the world. Most have been worn down over time because they were circulated, which makes well-preserved examples even harder to find. Because of this rarity, the value of these error coins has increased over the years. In addition to weak strikes and double dies, some 1970 D pennies may show other minor errors like die cracks, die chips, or small variations in the design caused by wear on the dies during production. While these minor errors typically don't add a lot of value, they can still be of interest to collectors who focus on varieties and minting anomalies. Condition or grade is another important factor when considering the value of any 1970 D penny. Coins are graded on a scale from poor, fair, good, very good, fine, very fine, extra fine, about uncirculated, to mint state. Most pennies found in circulation fall somewhere in the middle of this scale. High-grade coins, known as mint state coins, show little or no wear and look almost like new. These high-grade coins are much more valuable, especially if they have any of the rare varieties or errors. Collectors often seek out 1970 D pennies in higher grades with sharp details and little wear. Even without errors, a high-grade 1970 D penny can be worth a few dollars or more, which is well above its face value. Now, focusing back on that rare weak strike error penny, its uniqueness recently caught the attention of collectors worldwide. This specific coin was examined and certified by a well-known professional grading service, which confirmed its authenticity and assigned a grade based on its condition. This certification adds confidence for buyers and helps establish its market value. Due to its rarity and condition, this rare 1970 D weak strike penny recently sold privately for $89,000. This remarkable price shows how even a common coin like the 1970 penny can become incredibly valuable if it carries a significant minting error. It also highlights the importance of certification and grading in the world of coin collecting. For anyone interested in coins, or just curious about what might be hiding in your own collection, it's a good idea to examine any 1970 pennies you have closely. Use a bright light or magnifying glass to check for unusual features like double designs, faint details, or weak strikes, especially if the mint mark is still clear. Finding such an error coin could mean discovering something valuable. If you do spot a potential error or variety, submitting the coin for professional grading is highly recommended. Certified coins are easier to sell, and their value is generally higher than uncertified ones. While most 1970 pennies are worth only a cent, special varieties and errors like the weak strike penny can command thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars from collectors. The next rare penny in today's video is the 1977 1-cent coin from the United States. At a glance, it's a simple, everyday coin, something many people have handled without thinking twice. But, as we've seen with other coins, sometimes even the most ordinary-looking pieces carry surprising stories. And for a small number of 1977 pennies, that story ends in the hands of serious collectors and a 5-figure price tag. The 1977 penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series. Abraham Lincoln's profile has appeared on the obverse of the U.S. 1-cent coin since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The reverse, showing the Lincoln Memorial, was first introduced in 1959 and continued to appear on the penny until 2008. During 1977, 3 U.S. mints struck Lincoln cents: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia had no mint mark. Those from Denver carried a small D beneath the date, and the San Francisco Mint, which produced coins mostly for collectors, used an S mint mark. All regular issue coins that year were composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was before the 1982 change that shifted pennies to a mostly zinc composition to reduce production costs. Over 4.4 billion Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia alone in 1977. Add in the Denver and San Francisco mints, and the total number of 1,977 pennies easily climbs past 5 billion. That makes this a very common coin at face value. But here's the key detail: it's not the high mintage that matters, it's the small number of known errors and varieties that make a few of these coins stand out from the rest. Among these rare varieties, the most notable are double die errors. A double die occurs during the hubbing process, when the die that stamps the coin is imprinted twice slightly out of alignment. This creates a doubled image on the final coin. In most cases, collectors examine the date and lettering on the obverse side for signs of doubling. For the 1977 penny, double dies are very rare, but when found, they are considered extremely collectible. Another variety that draws interest involves repunched mint marks, or RPMs. In 1977, mint marks were still applied manually to working dies at the mint. If the worker struck the mint mark more than once, even slightly off target, it resulted in a doubled or shadowed mint mark on the coin. These aren't always easy to spot without magnification, but for specialists in Lincoln cents, repunched mint marks are a strong point of interest. Beyond these, there are a number of striking errors from that year that occasionally show up: off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment during minting; broad strikes, where the retaining collar fails and the coin spreads beyond its normal diameter; and misaligned dies, which cause the front and back designs to be off center relative to each other. These are rare, one-of-a-kind mistakes that make any affected coin a conversation piece for collectors. Coin grading plays a major role in determining how much a 1977 penny is worth. A coin's grade ranges from poor to mint state or proof, based on its condition. Most pennies in circulation have wear and marks, which place them in lower grades. But a well-preserved 1977 penny with an error, especially in a mint state grade, can be worth a significant amount. Even ordinary, uncirculated 1977 coins can fetch a few dollars. When you combine excellent condition with a rare error, the value rises quickly, and that brings us to one particular 1977 penny that has gained a lot of attention in the numismatic world. This coin was not only in exceptional condition, but it also featured a strong, visible doubling of the date and lettering, along with a noticeable shift in strike alignment, making it a rare combination of a double die and strike error. The coin was submitted for professional certification, graded as a mint state specimen, and verified as a genuine mint error by a leading grading service. Because of the combination of rarity, condition, and verified status, this particular 1977 penny was sold in a private sale for $81,000. This sale wasn't an auction fluke, it was the result of years of growing collector interest in error coins, combined with a growing awareness of the value that small minting anomalies can hold. For collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents or mint errors, coins like this are the crown jewels of their collections. It also goes to show that it's worth paying attention to the details. Many of these coins don't look like anything special at first. You might find one in a box of old change, in a coin roll, or even in circulation. But with careful inspection under the right light, or better yet, a magnifying glass, you might spot signs of doubling or misalignment that indicate a rare error. If you believe you found a coin with unusual characteristics, the best next step is to have it authenticated and graded by a reputable third-party grading service. Not only does this confirm the error and protect the coin, but it also gives it market value. Collectors are far more likely to pay top dollar for a certified, graded coin. So while the 1977 penny may be extremely common in most forms, a small group of them, those with unique flaws or rare characteristics, can be worth far more than their face value. The next coin in focus is the 1994 1-cent penny from the United States with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like just another common coin, a piece of copper-coated zinc, easily overlooked in the bottom of a change jar. But for a select few of these coins, something went differently during the minting process. And that difference, though small to the untrained eye, has made some 1994 pennies highly collectible and, in at least one case, incredibly valuable. The Lincoln penny is a coin that needs no introduction. Since 1909, Abraham Lincoln's portrait has appeared on the front of the United States 1-cent piece, making it one of the most recognized coins in American history. Over the years, the reverse design has changed, but in 1994, it still featured the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design that had been in use since 1959. Together, the obverse and reverse represented a familiar image to millions of Americans. By 1994, pennies were no longer made mostly of copper. In fact, that transition had occurred back in 1982. Since then, U.S. 1-cent coins have been produced using a core of zinc with a thin copper coating. The result is a coin that looks like the traditional copper penny but is lighter and more cost-effective to manufacture. Now, let's talk about mint marks. A mint mark is a small letter placed on a coin to show where it was made. In 1994, pennies were struck at 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver have a D mint mark. San Francisco coins, mostly proof strikes made for collectors, carry an S. But Philadelphia-made pennies traditionally have no mint mark. So when a 1994 penny doesn't show a mint mark, it usually means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. That, on its own, isn't rare. Billions of 1994 pennies were made in Philadelphia without a mint mark, and almost all of them are still worth only 1 cent. But as with many U.S. coins, the real value lies in the exceptions, coins that were struck with unusual errors, mechanical flaws, or minor but impactful differences that happened during production. And the 1994 penny is no exception to that rule. One of the most sought-after versions of the 1994 no mint mark penny is the one with an extremely rare double die obverse. A double die happens when the die used to stamp the design onto the blank planchet is engraved twice, slightly offset. When the coin is struck, it carries an image that shows doubling, especially on the date, the letters in Liberty, or the words, In God We Trust. These doubling effects aren't the result of a worn-out die or damage, they're part of the original strike, making them a true variety and not just an error. For collectors, a strong double die coin is one of the most exciting finds. The doubling needs to be crisp and noticeable to have real value. On a 1994 penny, finding clear doubling in the date or lettering makes that coin stand out dramatically from the billions of other pennies made that year. Another type of error found on some 1994 pennies includes off-center strikes. This happens when the blank coin planchet is not aligned correctly between the dies. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted to one side. The more off-center it is, especially without cutting off the date, the more collectible it becomes. There are also broad strikes, which occur when a coin is struck without the collar that usually helps it keep its shape. These coins appear slightly spread out and flatter around the edges. And then there are die cracks and die chips, small raised lines or bumps on the surface of the coin caused by damage or imperfections in the die itself. While minor die cracks aren't usually worth much, certain patterns or extreme examples can attract attention from specialists. Now, let's talk about condition. When it comes to coin value, grade matters a lot. A coin's grade is determined by how much wear it shows, and how sharp the design elements remain. Coins that have never been in circulation are called uncirculated, or mint state. These coins typically retain their full detail, original luster, and sharp edges. For a 1994 penny, finding one with an error in high mint state condition makes it far more desirable than a circulated version of the same variety. Many valuable 1994 pennies have been professionally graded by top-tier coin grading services. These organizations carefully examine the coin's features, strike quality, luster, and surface preservation to assign it a numerical grade. Coins graded MS-65 or higher are particularly attractive to collectors and can sell for much higher prices than similar coins with lower grades. So how does a 1994 penny with no mint mark go from being a 1-cent coin to a 5-figure collectible? It comes down to rarity, condition, and attention to detail. One specific coin, a 1994 no mint mark penny, was discovered with a strong double die obverse and a sharp, well-centered strike. On top of that, it was preserved in nearly flawless condition and received a high mint state grade from a major grading service. The doubling was clearly visible to the naked eye, making it an obvious standout from regular strikes. This particular coin was auctioned in a private sale and stunned many collectors by reaching a final price of $55,000. That's right, 1 cent became $55,000, thanks to a rare error, near-perfect preservation, and a growing market of collectors eager to own coins that are not only rare but visually striking. If you have 1994 pennies lying around or saved in a jar, it might be worth taking a closer look. Check for strong doubling in the date or the lettering. Examine the coin's strike and surface for anything unusual. If something seems off, in a good way, it could be a sign of a mint error or variety worth investigating further.